guys, I'm Laura Vitale, and on this episode of Laura in the Kitchen, I'm going to show you how to make a very sort of rich, my mouth is salivating just thinking about it, delicious dessert for the summer. It's my brownie ice cream bars. They are really rich, but good thing is a little piece goes a long way because it's got such great flavors. The first thing we're going to start with is the base, which is the brownie base, and for that you're going to need some all-purpose flour, cocoa powder, instant espresso, salt, some bittersweet chocolate that's been melted and it's just sitting here cooling, some granulated sugar, eggs, vanilla extract, and some unsalted butter softened at room temperature. Now the oven needs to be preheated at 350. I also have a 9 by 9 inch square baking pan here, and I've lined it with parchment paper. You want to make sure that you line it with parchment paper so that it comes off the sides, because when we go to serve these, we need to be able to lift them out. So let's get started. It's very easy, very simple, really kind of staple brownie recipe that we're starting off with. I'm going to add the butter and my sugar. I'm just going to cream this together until it's nice and combined. I'm going to add in my eggs and vanilla. Need a little bit of vanilla in here, even though it's chocolate brownie. All right, just combine this. Mix until it's nice and combined. I'm going to add in my bittersweet chocolate that's been cooling here. And you want to make sure that your melted chocolate is cooled a little bit. Otherwise, it could scramble your eggs. Also, just a quick tip. I'm just running my spatula along the sides right now. But when a recipe calls for, say, this recipe, for example, it's going to say 1.5 cups of bittersweet chocolate melted. You want to make sure you measure it before you melt it. You don't want the end result to be melted chocolate 1.5 cups. It needs to be 1.5 cups of chocolate chips or whatnot, and then you melt them down. I'm just going to combine this until it's nice and a creamy mixture. And let's just add our dry ingredients. I mean, very easy. Can't really get any easier than that. And every time you add an ingredient, you just make sure you kind of mix it from the sides of your bowl, just to make sure you're kind of incorporating everything. All right, that looks good. I'm just going to switch to my whisk now. Alrighty, just mix it from the sides. Now, I am baking this in a 9 by 9 rather than an 8 by 8 because we have so many layers going on. I don't want the brownie layer to be this thick. I want it to be a little on the thinner side. So all I'm going to do now is put the batter in my baking dish, and then just flatten it till it's nice and even. And then I'm going to pop it into the oven to bake for around 25 minutes or so, or until it's fully cooked through. Let it cool completely, and I'll show you the next step. My brownies baked for about 30 minutes. I let them cool completely. They need to cool for several hours. Otherwise, if they're remotely warm, it's going to end up being a big mess. Now, what I have here are some sliced strawberries, and I've got some ice cream. Now, you can use any ice cream that you like. I'm using a turtle flavored ice cream because I love it. But, you know, to each his own. Any flavor you like. I mean, I should say keep it in the like caramel, vanilla, chocolatey family because that's what works best. Now, I've made this recipe tons and tons of times throughout the years. Weeks ago, my brother-in-law it was his birthday, and my sister-in-law ordered him an ice cream cake from his favorite bakery. And we were eating the ice cream cake at his little birthday celebration, and as I was taking a bite, there was something between the layers of the different ice cream and the cake and all that was sharp and refreshing. And I said, what is in there? It's so good. She says, oh, there's a layer of fresh strawberries. And I said, what? She said, yeah, they put a layer of fresh strawberries. So when I made this a couple weeks ago after his birthday, I added the strawberries, and it is unbelievable. It's that tart, that freshness that kind of sets it apart a little bit. It's absolutely delicious. So anyway, you want to make sure your ice cream is softened. Otherwise, it's going to be really, really hard to spread over your brownie base. And I know this is very rich, but hey, you know, you're not going to eat it every single day. It's a treat. So, you know, Don't beat yourself too much over it. And I can get easily 32 squares out of this, and it would be perfect portions. So what I'm going to do is just level this out as best as I can. This is going to get another layer on top after the strawberries, but for now I'm going to just take my strawberries and I'm going to nestle them in my ice cream. Once you add them all in there, try to cover them up as best as you can, but it's not necessary. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover this with plastic wrap. I'm going to pop this into the freezer for several hours. I need the ice cream and the brownie to be really nice and frozen. So when I pour the last layer on top, nothing's going to melt all over the place. So I'm going to cover it with plastic wrap, stick it into my freezer. I'm going to leave it in there overnight just because it's easier and it's already in the evening here. I'll be up to 4 o'clock in the morning to show you what it looks like once it's fully frozen. So I'm going to pop this in and I'll show you what it looks like when it's done, and then we'll add in our last and final layer. It is time to make the last component to our brownie ice cream bars. Now my ice cream and brownie base was in the freezer overnight. I just took it out, and what I've got here is some cream that's coming to a simmer, which actually is at a simmer. And I've got some semi-sweet chocolate in this big measuring cup, but you can use anything really. I'm going to pour my cream over, and I'm not going to do anything to it for about 3 minutes. The only thing I'm going to do is kind of push the chocolate down into the cream so that the cream is kind of covering everything. I'm going to let this sit here for about 3 minutes, and then I'll show you the last and final step before we cover this entire beauty with that ganache. Now I'm going to just whisk this up, and it's going to take just a second, but as soon as you get your whisk moving, it's all going to melt together beautifully. Trust me on that. That looks great. Now what you essentially made is a ganache. Okay, got my spatula, got this all poured on your ice cream, and you're going to work fast because you don't want everything to start melting together because the chocolate mixture is warm. So work very fast to smooth everything over. Get it from end to end, covering it all up. You see how that ice cream is going to start melting? We don't want that. So that's great. I'm going to pop this back into the freezer for another hour or so, or until it's fully set, and I will show you what it looks like once it's done. Oh, that looks good. This was in the freezer for about an hour or so. You want to make sure you take it out about 5 minutes before you go over to cut them. Otherwise, they're too frozen and you won't be able to get a nice cut out of them. And then just cut them into your desired size. And that's it. Good tip is to have either a kitchen towel or a paper towel or just something near you that's wet. And that way it's really easy to clean in between each slice and not get kind of dirty and messy and all over the place. But you do want to work quickly because you are working with ice cream here. Alright, I think I'll just cut these for now, put the rest in the freezer, just because I don't have that many people over for dinner, but I'm going to go for the first one we cut up. The brownie hardens up to almost like a cookie, and that strawberry is really that fresh, bright thing that it really is needed with all that sweetness. Cold. Definitely a treat, but worth making if you've got company coming over. Hop on over to laurainthekitchen.com to get this recipe. If you love a good ice cream sandwich, this has been kicked up 10 notches. I hope you enjoy spending time with me, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.